Imagine receiving an eviction notice. A letter from the government telling you to pack your bags and leave your home immediately. Now, imagine receiving that letter 50 years after you died. It sounds like a dystopian horror movie concept, but this is the actual law of one of the most famous cities in the world. In San Francisco, California, it is technically illegal to be buried within the city limits. And if you were already there, well, you had to move. This is the story of the Great Removal. To understand this madness, we must go back to the chaos of the gold rush in 1849. San Francisco exploded from a small village to a booming metropolis overnight. Thousands of prospectors arrived, bringing greed, crime, and disease. The death rate was staggering. Cemeteries were established on the outskirts, on prime land overlooking the ocean, like the famous Laurel Hill and Calvary Cemetery. At the time, they were far from the city center. But the city grew hungry. By 1900, the city had surrounded the graveyards. Real estate developers looked at these acres of prime land and didn't see history or respect. They saw dollars. Millions of dollars in potential housing. The argument was cruelly simple and pragmatic: the dead don't pay taxes. The living needed homes, and the dead were taking up the best views. A political war began between the memory of the ancestors and the greed of the living. To justify the unthinkable, the city used fear. They claimed the cemeteries were spreading horrific diseases like cholera and typhoid to the living residents nearby. It was a convenient lie to mask real estate speculation. In 1902, the Board of Supervisors passed an ordinance banning all new burials. The cemeteries were closed. They fell into disrepair, becoming overgrown forests of stone in the middle of a modern city. But banning new burials wasn't enough. The land was too valuable. In 1914, the final order was given: all existing cemeteries had to be removed. It didn't matter if you were a pioneer, a Civil War hero, or a child. Your eternal rest was over. This is where the true horror began. Over the next decades, a massive industrial operation took place to exhume more than 150,000 bodies. It was the largest movement of dead bodies in human history. The process was chaotic. Rotted coffins were cracked open. Bones that had been resting for 50 years were transferred into smaller boxes. Hearses and even specialized tram cars ran day and night, carrying the dead out of the city. Many bodies, whose families couldn't be found or couldn't afford the transfer fees, were moved into mass graves. Dignity was left behind in the mud. The city was cleansing itself of its ancestors. But what happened to the tombstones? The massive granite and marble stones marking names, dates, and memories? If the family didn't pay to move the heavy stone, it became trash. The city used them as rubble for construction. They were used to build sea walls, breakwaters, and even gutters in Buena Vista Park. The history of thousands of people was literally used to pave the way for progress. At the Marina Breakwater, and specifically at the Wave Organ, if you go there today at low tide, you can still see pieces of granite with broken names and dates. They serve as a barrier against the sea. Where did they go? They were shipped south to a small agricultural town called Colma. Today, Colma is known as the City of Souls. It is the only dedicated necropolis in America. The statistics of Colma are haunting. The town has about 1,500 living residents, and over 1.5 million dead underground. The dead outnumber the living 1,000 to 1. Famous figures lie there, including Levi Strauss and Wyatt Earp, refugees from the city that rejected them. Even in death, they are exiles. The modern beauty of San Francisco hides this dirty secret in its foundations. Parks, schools, and wealthy neighborhoods like Jordan Park now sit where the city's ancestors once rested. Sometimes, construction workers digging for new skyscrapers still find bones that were left behind in the rush. A reminder that the eviction was never truly completed. It leaves us with a painful reflection: in a world driven by profit, how far does our respect go for those who came before us? Eternal rest, it seems, has an expiration date if the price is right. If this story shocked you, and if you believe the dead deserve respect, hit that like button. Comment below: would you live in a house built over an old cemetery? Subscribe to the Dark Archive.